Namaste. I am Chavi Sharma from Girls Pass. Times are changing, and so is the thought process of women. These days, many women are going up and taking up business instead of the regular jobs. And the way these businesses are funded is also changing. Currently, it's the time to go big with angel investors and venture capitalists. And today, I'm going to go live with one such woman who is a successful entrepreneur who has raised many rounds of uh, venture cap business via venture capitalists. So let's see whether Aditi is here and I start this live session with her. Um, is the founder and CEO of V Resorts. So let's see whether she's here. Hi
Hello.
Aditi.
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining this live session with Girls Pass.
No problem. I'm happy to be here. Can you hear me? Am I
Yeah,
audible?
everything is perfect.
All right. Give me just 1 second.
So,
My hands to be free.
now it's fine.
Good. Yeah, it's fine.
So let's start. Please tell us a little about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So, I even before I started a venture, actually, I worked in the areas of consulting. So I was with McKinsey, and then I worked with a private equity firm, and venture in 2014. Led the venture for about 8 odd years, and just before COVID, I was able to sell out to another company. Unfortunately, it happened, so that didn't go as we
Okay.
expected to, but in any case,
Uh-huh.
and since then, however, I have been very interested in the impact and the sustainability space. So I have been investing in that area. I have, been investing with a platform called Climate Angels, and we basically make investments in the sustainability and the impact spaces.
Okay, great. So, you have built a business from the ground. So, please tell us about your journey of V Resorts.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's challenging at all stages, right?
Yeah.
You are just grappling with, you're trying to figure out whether the idea fits the market. So, product market fit is what we call it. Initially, I think those are all about getting consumers, getting them to like your product, getting the reviews out. So that's kind of the first phase, of any business, not only mine. Then the next phase of the business goes out to how you scale, and that is, honestly, when you have the product market fit, that is the number one reasons why startups could fail, because of the scaling bit. Because a lot of capital and a lot of resources go into scaling. It's also a little bit of a mathematical problem, right? That at a particular level of units, you're doing well, you figured out the number of people that are in your company, they're well trained, they know their job. But what happens later on is that as soon as the units increase and you have to get a new set of people, you don't know how well they'll perform compared to the previous team. So, I mean, the challenges of scaling basically are completely different than the initial phase of the product market fit. And a lot of things happen during that phase. You pivot, you tend to pivot also. You figure out new business streams or revenue streams. So a lot of things happen during that time, and then of course you reach a stage where the initial investors are looking for an exit. So either you have to find another big investor. So that was the phase in 2018-19 where I kind of met all the strategic players there. At the time we weren't very lucky, so we didn't have that rule that non-profitable companies could list like it is.
Okay.
Strategic player for ourselves. So I met everybody in that space during that time. The whole idea is to basically look at getting an exit or trying to sell your company to a larger player, etc. Of course, after that, things take another turn because you're now working with a brand new team. They have a new vision. The company is way bigger than you, so you have to listen, to them, and you have to figure out how you will build your business out under their umbrella. So my point is that whatever the journey is, every stage has its own challenges and its own set of problems that you have to tackle. And the best thing is that there can be no better learning curve because you're doing it yourself.
Exactly.
So the learning curve is really, really high, and it really surpasses any anything that you would do in a job, no matter how high up you are. So it's great
Yeah,
learning.
great. So, you were working in finance firms before this. So, was becoming an entrepreneur always a part of the plan?
Oh, it was never part of the plan. The plan was to remain an investor or remain on the side of the fund. B Resorts was actually there was a distress opportunity because the entrepreneurs who had started the venture had left, and we were the
Oh,
venture. So we could have decided to leave the venture and just shut it down, or decided one of us could step in and run it as a promoter. So that is exactly what the case. And obviously the fund manager he said, look, I'm managing the fund, so obviously I can't step in and you give it a thought. Also, it was in the travel space, my huge passion area, so I figured that I'll be good at it intrinsically. So I kind of just, that's how it went.
it automatically came to you. Great.
Yeah.
So, you are the only woman in this country who is heading a company in this space, ecotourism. So, please share some experiences with us.
Yeah, so look, I don't know whether I'm the only woman who's running this, but the point is that ecotourism is actually, well, it's a new term, first of all, and it's just becoming, people are just getting to know about it now. And it is all about responsible travel, but there are wonderful aspects to it. So it's not preachy. Nobody, ecotourism doesn't mean that you're going to a place and you'll be uncomfortable. It's not at all like that. Ecotourism
Yes.
actually means someone's asking me to speak in Hindi, so should I do that?
No, no, no. People keep on asking that, but English is the universal language. You're going with that.
Okay, all right. Uh, so basically, tourism is about getting to know that place really well. जैसे हम पहले करते थे ना, we used to take a trip to Europe and then do like two cities, I mean 2 days in each city, just sort of travel. So that actually against the principle of ecotourism, or we can call it slow travel. So the idea is to really get to know what's happening in that place, to really immerse yourself, in that particular that particular destination, and to meet the locals, to get to know what they're doing, to figure out other activities, basically just get into the ethos of it. So I think a lot of people now are really interested in that. Given our health concerns, people are very conscious about what they eat, what they drink, where they are, in terms of AQI of the air quality, and so on and so forth, right? So my point is, it's a new market. It's very well versed in the US or in the West, actually, even in Europe, but it's just catching on. But I feel that there's a brand of something that I call as the conscious consumer who is looking for states. And after COVID, at least in India, that's when India's eyes opened. People figured, oh God, we have to be ethical, because we saw all those pictures of, seeing the mountains from, way back.
Yeah.
That, all that stuff. So I think that really opened our eyes, and it forced us to take a seat back and to figure out how we can even travel sustainably.
Great. I mean, it sounds pretty interesting to me. I think I'll take a trip like that.
Telling you, I don't know anybody who won't be interested in it right now. That's how it's happened.
Okay. So, see, when we look at the percentage of women who go in for raising capital via VCs or angel investing, it's quite low. So, what do you think is the reason behind it?
उसका यार एक ही reason है that fewer women choose the entrepreneurial stream. That is actually the main reason. It's not because so think about it. If you look at deals and you look at say 100 deals and you look at only 2 deals, so in any case the likelihood or the probability of getting funded is one deal in 100. So if one deal also only two deals are women led and the others are all men, are all men founders, can't do anything about it. Actually, more because of women not choosing to be entrepreneurs. But that said, the situation is changing. Now, when you see founding teams, you will always find it's more likely that a woman will be there in the founding team. So I think a lot of changing. It's really changing. And I've seen a bunch of the best sort of women coming forth there and doing their businesses. So I think my situation was very different when I was an entrepreneur 10 years ago. It was very different. The whole age was very different, and we automatically were in the spotlight because there were such few of us out there, right? Who were funded, but I don't think the case is there anymore, and I think more and more women are coming out and are getting funded. And
but it must have been like,
sorry, I just wanted.
But it must have been quite challenging too.
I just wanted to make one more point. There are actually funds out there, especially accelerators, incubators, and venture funds, which only fund women. So I think when more of those come in, also, then you'll see more women, coming on.
Okay. So you have won like so many awards for this V Resorts. So it must have been full of challenges. So please share some of the challenges you face.
Yeah, sure. So, the first challenge actually was that, way back in 2014, people knew the main tourist destinations. They did not know about so they did not know about offbeat destinations. If somebody would go to say a Nainital, they would only want to be in Nainital and they wouldn't want to explore areas around that. So my business was in offbeat travel. So my first, or maybe my biggest challenge initially was to tell people that there are other places that you could visit which are not mainstream tourist destinations, and there is a lot to do. So my first challenge was actually all about product definition. How do you keep that person there? Initially, we used to just run a resort. So people used to come and say, what is there to do? What activities can we do here? And we used to say, there's nothing. So then they should be like, okay, fine, we'll stay here, but we'll go to Nainital, spend the day there, and then come back to you. So then we figured, we have to have, pegs on why those people would want to stay there. So we decided we have to develop activities, products, and we did that with the local community. So that was actually my first foray with working with the local community. That was one challenge. Another challenge which I can tell you was that, workers at the resort level, these are local people. I was, MBA, consulting. I took time to figure out how to best talk to them, how to best, sort of get them to understand my vision. And more importantly, look, I was a sole woman founder, and mostly these are all men that work at the resort, right? So there was also that initial apprehension that would they, take orders or take direction from a woman. But frankly, I never had that issue. I never faced that issue. I thought the apprehension was okay. But very quickly on, I learned that they are extremely collaborative and they actually want their destination to develop. So, that was how it went.
Wow, great. So, like I read this in an article that, V Resorts exists as an incubator for women who love their jobs. So, please tell us more about this.
Well, there's a little bias there because since I was a founder, I believe that if I can run a company without any background and without any previous, training, I figured that so could the women do all the tough roles. So what I used to do is I had a bias towards hiring women in almost all the main or the front-facing roles. I had a lot of women in operations also. In fact, mostly my team was comprised of women, and they would travel. They would go out alone. There was no concern that, oh, we can't take a bus, or we can't go in this thing, we need a car. None of that. It was quite fantastic. So that was one thing that we did at the corporate level. At the local level, again, in fact, this is not something that I thought of. I actually went to a resort which was managed by a woman. The woman was the manager, and it was fantastic.
Okay.
I cannot tell you how beautifully the person had that whole eye for detail was fantastic. She was managing it absolutely wonderfully. So we did have that concept of all women staff as well at some of our properties, and we also felt that should go towards encouraging solo women travelers, to come and to stay at these places. You just feel more comfortable. So we decided to do that. Yeah.
Amazing. So, who has been your source of inspiration?
See, I'll give you like high level inspiration. So high level inspiration, someone I still look up to is somebody like an Oprah Winfrey, who sort of just came from nothing, and then has obviously is now one of the most powerful women in the world. So that of course is one external sort of an inspiration. But frankly speaking, that didn't really help me in my job, in my work. What helped me was a very strong set of mentors who were usually the investors or people on the board who you could go to for advice, who you could run things by. And honestly, if I say that even today, how did I really run a company, like that, which was so distributed in geography, with blue collar workers and so on and so forth. So I had a lot of help. And frankly, I'd say those are my inspirations right now, right? Because they are really the ones, the mentors are really the ones who came and to my rescue and, helped me.
Okay. So, what are the few things which are important as if someone is going to start his or her own business?
Yeah, see, this is it's a vast sort of a topic, but if I really tell you about the high level stuff, see, you have to have a very clear proposition of what you are doing. It should be pretty clear to you. If the solution is not clear, which means you still have to research, the problem should be very clear. You have to identify the problem. You've identified that one thing which is not happening yet, and you are passionate about solving it. आपने आज solve नहीं किया, या आपको ऐसे solve you must have a very clear idea of what the problem is. You must be doing your research, your market research, primary research, secondary research. A very important thing is to start vetting it. So the way I do it is, if I have an idea, of course I research, but then after that I start telling my mentors, telling people around me, this is my idea, what do you think about it? Some people will say, अच्छा इसमें ये hole है, इसमें ये problem है. So it really gets you thinking, right? So that is also very important, that you make sure that people around you can vet your idea. And majorly, I would really like to say that don't really, don't create ventures to get funded. Okay, create ventures that can ultimately get funded. But even if they don't get funded, you should be able to know how your path or your journey will work out. So just because of the funding doesn't happen, see, funding happens when there are 10 criteria that meet, and then all of those things are very timely ultimately. So you could have the best idea right now. I could say that I have the most innovation driven bakery, but abhi bakery ka time nahi hai yaar, so that will not get funded. However, if I have a new solution for an EV, I've made a new battery or something like that will get funded, or at least people will see and meet you, right? So एक तो timely होना बहुत जरूरी है, see the sectors that are hot. And secondly, you have to make sure that, so again, like I said, that too many factors that go behind funding. So don't run after the funding. Funding हो ही चाहे ना हो. By the way, funding करने के लिए भी ना, there are like a million people out there. So ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ venture funding चाहिए. अरे वेंचर फंडिंग हो सकती है, if you have a bakery and you've developed it beautifully, you I'm telling you, private equity fund will come in. अगर venture नहीं आया तो private equity आ जाएगा. Private equity नहीं आया तो machinery debt पे मिल जाएगा. I mean, there's so many different ways to get that funding.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, so these are some of the things that you should keep in mind, when you start out.
Okay. So, I mean, you are an angel investor who like particularly invests in female-led startups who are like in the early stages. So, what is that first thing that attracts you when you invest?
Don't invest in women-led startups. I invest in sustainable startups. So sustainable startups are startups which follow or they tick mark the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. So to give you a very easy example, you've seen all these plant-based meats that are happening, right? Substituting meat for with some variation of a plant, right? So or vegan meats, whatever, however they're called. That's a good example of sustainability because there is a lot of land usage, methane production, etc., related to meat, right? And the consumption of meat is only growing. So if you can substitute that with a plant-based meat, the CO2 emissions comes down. So that is something that we would invest, right? Now, so typically, this I have said many times, there are only three things that is looked at by a VC when they're investing. One is the team, okay, your background, where you're from. So the team is the most important, okay. And secondly, because even if the idea is great and you're not thinking about it properly, you won't get funded. So how do you articulate the problem and how you're trying to solve it? I think these are the two main things that you really look at when you're investing in a particular team.
Okay. So, if we talk about women entrepreneurs in particular, so what do you think that they particularly go wrong with? Or let's make it general, like what you just said that, what do they particularly go wrong with when they are pitching for their company? That one particular
thing. Women entrepreneurs, so I also go wrong in all these things. So I think it's very common for all of us. And, honestly, like I said, it's changing. So it's not, I've met very sharp women who pitch very brilliantly. So I really don't think that's much of a problem now. I don't think women go wrong in pitching because so earlier what we used to do wrongly, I'll tell you that. We're great at storytelling. We're great at getting the concept out. Not so great at data. We don't talk about the story and numbers. And I think that is something that we always do. We come across as very passionate. So I've never found someone saying, oh, she's lacking with energy or passion. But the story doesn't play out properly in numbers, and I think that's where men do it pretty well. Women tend to second guess themselves as well. They feel that, acha, iske bare mein kuch nahi pata, and I must say that I do it myself. So I really can't say, about anything else or anybody else. But I think we're not doing anything wrong. We're just fewer than our male counterparts. That's all. Otherwise, there's nothing that we're doing differently than them. Also, the way we pitch, I mean, it's that typical thing, that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, because the way we pitch will obviously be different than the way a man pitches, right?
Yes, obviously,
teams with diversity, with a woman and a man on the team, they're always preferred because the diversity that automatically sort of, comes in is very helpful even further along in the journey. So, yeah.
Okay. So then what are the important things which should be there for a good pitch?
So pitch again is something that is very, very standard. Yeah, your first slide should talk about what you are doing. So it's called an elevator pitch, a one-line statement of what you're doing. The second slide should talk about the need. Where is the need coming from? What is happening in the industry, XYZ. The third slide should talk about your own solution. Why is it unique? And how will you solve that problem? Your next slide should talk about go to market. So how are you planning to go to market? Where will you find your customers? Where will you to be your first client? What's your revenue model? Your pricing, all that stuff comes into go to market strategy. Will you do it in India, outside India, all that? Okay. Um, and the next part is about how much money do you need, okay, to get to a certain level, and what is the usage of that money, usage of funds. So typically these 6 7 points are there across all slides. People put in competition analysis as well. People put in a lot of testimonials and data, especially initially when the product is new. So all that helps.
Okay. So now let's talk about how can we like empower and equip upcoming women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so I think making an ecosystem is the most important thing in empowering women. And how do we do that? So there is a whole ecosystem. Tell you what the ecosystem I'm telling you about is. So there is a networking place, a place where you network, where you find like-minded people, or you find mentors, or you find people who can open doors, for your own venture. So those are networking platforms. There is a great platform called Leap.club for women. There is a Power Circle. There are quite a few of them now. Chai, Chai something I have forgotten, but that one's also very nice where you can meet, people, and you can meet them for tea and stuff like that. So some of these networks are great. Okay. Then you have something called an incubator. Incubators are basically where you've got an idea, but you don't know how to structure a company. You don't know how to make your first agreement and all that sort of stuff. So incubators help you with really getting your feet on the ground. Okay. Also help you with getting the initial funding, or help you to meet investors once you are investable, once you are ready. Okay. They also help you with your pitch deck and everything. So those are incubators. Then you have accelerators. Accelerators are typically new age startups who will participate with each other. So there are usually 10, 12 companies in one accelerator, which the whole purpose of that accelerator is to accelerate the growth of your company, right? So if you have reached level X, you need to get to level Y. Accelerators is a great way to do that. Again, you get money, you get to meet a lot of knowledge partners, mentors. So it's a good platform. And after that, of course, there is the venture capitalists, which I said that there are funds which are investing only in women. So that's great as well. There are programs that foster entrepreneurship. So, for example, there's Sparks at Sequoia. These are the Sequoia women-led founders, okay, and you'll get to learn a lot from them. So look up these programs, yaar, bahut hain. All funds are trying to do something. There is K Start at Kalari Capital. Basically, if everybody understands that women need a little push and a little help and little hand holding, and that is what they are here for, and that is what they are here to do. So, ये ecosystem बन रहा है. Maybe there are just 5 networks today and 4 accelerators, but that is just increasing. It's just increasing day by day. Lots of Southeast Asian accelerators where you can get to meet other counterparts in different countries, all open for India now. So, yeah. So I think the best way is that you just create that ecosystem and entrepreneurship grows.
Perfect. And like we are just about to end the questions. So like any piece of advice for the upcoming women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, basically, don't second guess yourself, yeah, and just take the plunge. But honestly, one sound piece of advice that I do have, because I have done one venture alone, is that do look for co-founders. The co-founders don't need to be men, but you definitely need co-founders. Single founded companies are also not getting very easily funded, and honestly, it puts too much pressure on one person. So I think a 3-member co-founding team is fantastic. People have 4 members in co-founding teams. My main point to you is that, I'm telling women, and women will love this because women like to do things in groups, and we're usually quite cliquey. So we will like working in a group where
Yes.
people are there together, with whom you can share your ideas and things like that. So look for that co-founder. Definitely take advantage of all these networks and incubators.
Yes.
System out there. You don't have to do it alone anymore. So definitely reach out. Definitely, do that. So yeah.
Okay. It's like more important to be aware about things rather than, exactly jumping in and not knowing anything.
Yeah. And if you don't know and you want to start a company, the best thing is join the networks, meet people who are running, and get all the information from them.
Great. So, anything else, Aditi, you want to add up over here to the session?
No, not really. I mean, if there is any specific question that you have.
No, I put up all the questions. So what we'll be doing is like we'll be saving the session on our feeds. So in case if anyone has any relevant question, they can like definitely put up in the comment below and we can answer it later on.
And they can feel free to follow me and also DM. So I do make an effort to answer questions on businesses, mentorship queries. I always get to those. So please feel free to do.
That's so nice of you. So Aditi, thank you so much for coming forward to this live session by Girls Past. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. And thank you everyone
Okay.
for watching.
Yeah. So we'll end the session for today and you can definitely put up your questions later on. Bye-bye everyone. Bye Aditi.